Okay. Good morning to all. Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. 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 So in last class, we were talking something related to torsion of a circular shaft. So in that case, we took the case where the shaft was subjected to pure twist, and because of which because of the torsion, only the shear stress was coming into picture. But let us case take more generalize the problem. That is, shaft which we are taking is also subjected to bending apart from the twisting. So bending may be because of its self weight due to gravity. It may bend, and it is also subjected to this bending moment. So we are taking more generalized case here, that is combined bending and twist, and we are interested in determining the maximum shear stress because of which it will fail, and because of the two effect, we will are also interested in determining the principal stresses. So two things we will be determining here, that is a maximum shear stress and the principal shear stresses. So let us proceed towards this derivation. So as I said that we have one more term, that is bending. So bending equation obviously will come into picture. So we know that bending equation is expressed by this sigma by y m by I upon e by r. So this sigma is nothing but the bending stress, which we can express this as y upon I m into y upon I. So m is the moment, y is the maximum distance from the this your reference axis, you can say neutral axis, and I is the moment of inertia. For the circular shaft, it is pi by 64 d raised to the power 4. It is a solid circular shaft. And y is the maximum distance. Maximum distance will be nothing but radius, which can be expressed in terms of diameter, that is d by 2. So in place of I, we can write in terms of diameter, and y max we can write in also in terms of diameter. So this is what we are going to do in next step. So here you can look at that it is subjected to torsion as well as bending also. Bending maybe because of, as I said, because of its weight, it may bend, and torsion you see that torsion is because of the twist. So on substituting the corresponding values, we can see some equation one is written. We have substituted y max at d by 2 and I as pi e raised to power 4 upon 64. And from that we got 32m pi d cube. Now this was bending part because of bending, but because of the twist, we will use the torsion equation here. So torsion equation, we know that that is T by J upon tau upon R to G theta by L. So tau represents your variation of a shear stress at any location R. It will be maximum for a solid circular shaft where R is equal to D by 2. J is nothing but this is polar moment of inertia, which is pi d raised to power 4 upon 32. Means this is 64 is for this and in a moment of inertia and polar moment of inertia, it is pi d raised to power 4 upon 32. So based on this, we can look that variation of shear stress is maximum at d by 2, and it is 0 where r is equal to 0, and this is nothing but we can see that maximum shear stress is on substituting the value polar moment of inertia and r is equal to d by 2, we will get something in equation number 2, that is 16t pi d cube. So here we look that at R is equal to 0, shear stress is 0, and it is maximum at d by 2. So here we look that there are two stresses coming into our picture, that is bending stress and maximum shear stress. So we can draw an analogy to two-dimensional state of stress where we have bending stress. We have represented it by sigma b. You can look here that, and one is this because of pure shearing stress tau. So we can use our expression for maximum principal stress, which we already derived, the generalized equation, that is sigma x plus sigma y by 2 plus minus 1 by 2 root of sigma x minus sigma y square plus 4 tau xy. So since we have already derived this equation if we look carefully here, sigma y is not present here, and sigma x is need to be replaced by sigma b, and we have tau xy replaced by this corresponding hello. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
here we can look here that if we substitute the value of
Yes, sir.
okay, you if we substitute the value of bending stress and corresponding maximum shear stress, which we derived in expression 1 and expression 2, so we will end up with something that is sigma 1 is equal to, we were interested in determining the maximum principal stress, which is equal to 1 by 16 pi d cube m plus root of m square plus t square. M is the moment applied, T is the torque applied. So if we assume that in equivalent moment ME, if I assume that there is an equivalent moment ME which produces the same is principal stresses, same principal stress, then we can replace this value by sigma 1. Sigma 1 is equal to 32 ME, equivalent bending moment, and because this is only because of bending, and pi d cube. So if I assume this as 32 ME, E is because equivalent. So we have introduced one suffix ME. So Me pi d cube. So if on the left hand side of this equation, that is expression for principal stress, if we substitute this, replace this sigma 1 by 32 Me upon pi d cube, we will get an equivalent bending moment as 1 by 2 m plus m square plus t square. So this is expression for a bending moment, and equivalent torque is one other thing of our interest. This torque, since it is a torque, so shear stress will come into picture. So we can determine the maximum shear stress by subtracting sigma 1 minus sigma 2, that is two principal stresses upon 2. So if we substitute these values, and we will get one equivalent torque that is given in the last, that is tau max is equal to 16 pi d cube under root m square plus t square, and this root term we assume it to be an equivalent torque. So we have introduced one suffix here, te. So this is an equivalent torque. So tau max is nothing but 16 by pi d cube into equivalent torque. So as I said that this equivalent torque is m square plus t square. Okay. So this was our last topic for our unit of torsion, that is combined bending and the shear stress. So we have derived the expression for maximum shear stress, equivalent torque, as well as equivalent bending moment. Okay. So we'll wait for 2 minutes. If we have some queries, we can discuss it right now. And we will move towards our next topic. Okay. So anything need to be discussed here? Okay. So I will stop sharing this and move to our next topic. So this unit is given at the end of our syllabus. If we look our syllabus for this mechanics of solid, we have one unit that is deflection of beams. So deflection as beam, you suggest that it is only vertically loaded, and because of which vertical load, it will try to deflect from its position, or you can say bend from its position. So we are interested in determining the deflection of this beam, how much beam will deflect. So in our day-to-day life, we see these buildings and we have beams in beam in these buildings. So these beams are vertically loaded, and if it bends beyond the this certain limit of factor of safety, then a structure may collapse. So that's why only we are quite interested in our these engineering problems to determine the deflection, that is in vertical direction, how much it has deflected from its original position. So we will take case of different types of beam: cantilever beam, simply supported beam, and subjected to different load. So beam may be loaded in different conditions: a point load, a uniformly distributed load. There may be cantilever beam, which may be loaded in vertical direction because of point load, as well as your this uniformly distributed load. So let us derive the expression for the deflection, that is in vertical direction, how much it is deflected. So all practical engineering application where we use the different components, normally we have to operate them within certain limits. This is true that there is some certain limits which all the components are being operated, that is constraints are placed. So constraints are placed on the performance and behavior of the component. So there are always constraints that for a particular engineering structure. For instance, we say that particular component is supposed to operate within this value of stress, and deflection of component should not exceed beyond a particular point, a particular value. So we design a Excel. Suppose that an Excel. So we calculate that this is the maximum shear stress beyond which it should not exceed. If it exceeds, then it will fail. Similarly, for beam, we are interested in determining the maximum deflection up to which beyond which it will fail if it is going to be deflected. In some problem, the maximum stress, however, may not be a strict or severe condition, but there may be deflection, which may be more rigid condition under operation. So there may be these stresses which are within permissible limit, but deflection is going the permissible limit, because it is deflected so much that that it may lead to failure of a structure. It is obvious, therefore, to study the method by which we can predict the deflection of member under lateral load. Lateral load, you can say in vertical direction, same is called as transverse load. And since this form of loading, which is generally produce the great deflection. So for beam, we are obviously determine beam is loaded in this vertical direction or in the transverse direction, and because of which deflection, it experiences a deflection. So this is what we are going to cover in this unit. So before going to our derivations for deflection, there are certain assumptions, and there are certain assumptions. The following assumptions are undertaken in order to derive the differential equation of elastic curve for loaded beam. So for the beam loaded in vertical direction, we have always this first assumption: stress is proportional to strain, that is Hooke's law applied. Thus equation is valid only for beam that are not stressed beyond elastic limit. So in this all engineering problems, we limit our derivations below the elastic limit, and Hooke's law is always applicable. So curvature is small. Curvature is small means if beam is deflected from its original position, so the formed curvature is not that means it will make a full circle. So it will be very small. Any deflection resulting from shear deformation of the material or shear stress is neglected. So we neglect the shear stress in this assumption of this derivation of deflection of beam. It can be shown that deflection due to shear deformation are usually small. So shear deformation we do not take into account, and it is ignored. So suppose that we have a beam. It is denoted by line segment AB. So it is a beam. It is denoted by a line segment AB, and in here we have assumed one Cartesian coordinate, that is x and y. So x is parallel to this axis of the beam AB, and y is perpendicular to this axis of beam AB. So beam was originally was in this shape AB, but because of deflection, the shape of the beam changed from AB to A dash to B dash. If there was some differential element along the length of beam dx is the differential element along the length of the beam, and this differential element, we assume that there is we also assume that there is, because of the deflected position, there is one arced form, that is the length of arc is ds, small ds, that is differential segment. We have taken a differential segment of this arc, that is ds, and from the extreme ends we have drawn perpendicular. So this arc has this substance an angle of small value, that is di at the center, and this di is the angle and arc is ds. So we can also have one angle, that is tan, that is I is the angle, and say if we draw a tangent to this arc. So in simplified words, we will look these terms in further in next slide in these simplified terms. So in the case of beam bent by transverse load acting in plane of symmetry, the bending moment M varies along the length of beam. So we have drawn a bending moment diagram for various types of beam. So simply supported beam, uniform for the simply supported beam subjected to point load, or simply supported beam subjected to uniformly distributed load. We have drawn the shear force diagram as well as bending moment diagram for the two cases. Further, it is assumed that simple bending theory holds good. So here we have also assumed that this theory of bending sigma y is equal to m by r is equal to e by r, m by I is equal to e by r. This theory of simple bending is also valid in case of deflection of beam. If we look at the elastic line or deflection curve, it is obvious that curvature at every point is different. So if you look this curve, that is A dash and B dash curve, which is the deflected position of beam. So if you look this angle or draw a tangent from there, from any point, the tangent will substitute a different angle with horizontal. Each and every point will substitute a different angle. So this is obvious that curvature at every point is different, and slope is different at different points. To express the deflected shape of beam in rectangular coordinate, let us take two axes, x and y. X-axis coincides with original straight axis of the beam, and y-axis shows the deflection. So we have assumed a rectangular coordinate system, which we have previously shown. So let us derivation. So here one angle is there. We have assumed one general point and drawn a tangent to that point. This subtends an angle of this E or I. So I is the angle. So I may be expressed in terms of this differential length and corresponding vertical distance, that is dy by dx. So I is nothing but dy by dx. This is angle, because tan theta for small values of theta, tan theta is nothing but equal to theta, and similarly tan I is equal to I. So if we look into the curvature, that is arc is equal to angle into radius. So we have expressed arc is ds. So we have expressed this ds arc in terms of this radius r and corresponding this subtended angle at the center, that is O. So that is so ds is expressed as r into di. So we know that ds is equal to for the small values, this arc ds may be replaced by dx, that is length along this horizontal axis dx. So we can write this dx as r into di, and since dx is equal to r into di, if we look into this expression, so this will be nothing but it can be also written as di upon dx into 1 upon r. On rearranging, we can write this dx as dx upon di into is equal to r, or di by dx is equal to r. So once you have this, substituting the value of I, so we know that I is equal to dy by dx. If you substitute in this expression, that is di by dx, and substitute the value of I here, so we will end up with this expression, that is d square by y upon dx square is equal to 1 by r. We know that from theory of simple bending, that is m by r is equal to m by I is equal to e by r, or m is equal to ei upon r. So this value 1 by r, we know that 1 by r is nothing but it is equal to d square y upon dx square. So we can express this m is equal to ei upon d square y upon dx square. So this is the moment. So once we have this expression for moment, bending moment, specifically speaking, we know that shear force is one order less than this bending moment. So if we differentiate this above expression, that is m is equal to ei into d square y upon dx square. If we differentiate this expression with respect to x, we will get expression for shear force. So this shear force will be F is equal to ei t cube y upon dx cube. Therefore, the above expression, that is F is equal to ei upon d cube upon dx cube. The above expression represents the shear force, where the rate of intensity of loading can be found out by differentiating the expression for shear force. So if you further differentiate this expression for shear force, that is if you differentiate the F with respect to x, so we will get the rate of loading from this. So let us do that. So we have differentiated this. Negative sign, it is coming because it is in this opposite direction. So this will be ei upon d square y upon dx square. So slope was dy by dx. Then we did expression for the bending moment, that is ei d square by dx square. Shear force was 1 unit higher, ei upon d cube y upon dx cube, and the load distribution was ei upon d raised to power 4 upon dx4. Method for finding deflection. So now we are going to find the deflection, that is how much beam has deflected from its original position, or it can maybe expressed. So there are different methods. So let us go and look these methods. So first method is our direct integration method. So the deflection of loaded beam can be obtained by using various methods. So one of the methods of finding deflection of beam is direct integration method. That is method using differential equation, which we have derived. So using all the above expressions for slope, bending moment, shear force, and load distribution, we will derive the expression for deflection. So we know that m is equal to ei into d square y upon dx square, or m by I is equal to d square y upon dx square. So this we can rearrange m, and we will get this d square y upon dx square. So if you integrate this differential equation once, we will get one integration constant, and doing second integration once more, we will get one more constant, that is a and b. So y is nothing but it is the vertical deflection. If the axis of beam lies in x-axis, so y will be the deflection which we are interested in determining. Or we can look here that we have integrated the equation twice, and we got two integration constant a and b. Now we are interested in determining these two this integration constant a and b. So let us take the few cases one by one, which are related to our day-to-day this practical loadings. So this is a cantilever beam. It is subjected to a load W at the end. So we are interested in determining its deflection. So its length is L, capital L. X is 0 at the point of loading, and at the this fixed edge, x is equal to L. Now we will derive the expression for this this deflection for this beam. So we already know that for this cantilever beam, the shear force diagram is nothing but a constant line of magnitude minus W, and corresponding moment, bending moment diagram, if you are interested, it is minus W into X. This is linear, bending moment is linear in shape, where the shear force diagram is constant line. So based on this expression, m upon ei into d square y upon dx square, we are interested in finding y. So bending moment for the cantilever beam subjected to point load at the end is nothing but minus W into X. So in place of M, we will substitute minus W into X and integrate this equation once. On integrating it once, we will get one integration constant. Let us call this integration constant as A, and integrating it twice, we will get another integration constant. Let us call this integration constant B. So we are interested in determining these integration constant using our boundary conditions. The boundary conditions, obviously you can look from the figure. At x is equal to L, at x is equal to length L, deflection is 0. There will be no deflection at the fixed end. So at x is equal to L, y is equal to 0. We have one more boundary condition at x is equal to L. That is, at x is equal to this fixed end of the beam. Slope is also 0. There will be no since there is no deflection at this point, the slope is also 0. So we will substitute these boundary conditions in our above expression. So from this, we can derive the value of constant A as well as B. So on solving, you can solve it very easily and get the constant value of constant, and resubstitute it into this original equation. We will get maximum this value of y, that is deflection, expressed in terms of x, which is written over here. That is 1 upon ei minus wx cube upon 6 ei plus wl square x upon 2 ei minus wl cube upon 3 ei. So we have expressed the deflection in terms of x. But in our engineering problem, we are always interested in determining the maximum value. So if you carefully look this figure, you see that maximum deflection for the cantilever beams subjected to point load will be at the point of loading. That is at x is equal to 0. It will have maximum deflection. So if you substitute this x is equal to 0, we will get the maximum deflection as ywl cube upon 3 ei. This is the maximum deflection at x is equal to 0. And slope will be also a maximum at this point. So you can look the equation of dy by dx here, that is slope, or you know the value of A here. So you can substitute substitute the value of A here, and it is maximum at x is equal to 0. If you substitute this value, the slope will turn out to be wl square upon 2 ei. This is the value of maximum slope and maximum corresponding maximum deflection. So we have determined the value of maximum slope, which are critical points, and maximum deflection for the cantilever being subjected to point load. So if we are asked some different loading condition, let us take another case. That is a cantilever beam. Now this time it is no longer subjected to point load, but the load has been replaced by this corresponding uniformly distributed load, UDL. So we will follow the same principle. which we derived for the cantilever beam subjected to point load. First, we will write the expression for shear force. That will be W into minus W into, that is will be X. It is wrongly written. So that will be minus W, that is weight per unit length, into corresponding length X, that will be shear force. So shear force is a linear in nature, whereas a bending moment for the uniformly distributed cantilever beam will be multiplied by corresponding x by 2 distance. So it is parabolic in nature. Therefore, this is linear, and bending moment is parabolic in nature. So since we know the expression for bending moment, that is m is known to us, which is equal to W into x square upon 2. So we will substitute it in m upon ei d square y upon dx square, and we will get the value of this y expressed in terms of integration constants. So this will be wx square upon 24 ei ax plus d. So this is the value of this deflection. So if you carefully look in this figure of this simply cantilever beam subjected to uniformly distributed load at x is equal to 0. So if you look at x is equal to 0, sorry, at x is equal to L, there will be no deflection. That is, at fixed end, there will be no deflection, and there will be no change in slope at x is equal to L, that is at fixed end. So using these two boundary conditions again, we can determine the value of these constant, that is A and B. So we will get the value of y, which is coming out to be 1 by ei minus wx square upon 24 to w L cube x upon 6 into w L raised to power 4 upon 8. W is nothing but weight per unit length. So since in our engineering problem, we are always interested in determining the maximum value, that is maximum deflection and maximum slope. So if you look at the figure, maximum deflection will be at x is equal to 0, and maximum slope will be also at x is equal to 0. So if you substitute these values in the value of deflection as well as slope, we will end up with WL raised to power 4 upon 8 EI and WL cube upon 6 EI. These two are the values for slope and deflection for the cantilever beam subjected to uniformly distributed load. So this was the case about the cantilever beam. So in our this engineering problem, we have one more commonly loaded beam, which is you can see here. This is simply supported beam with uniformly distributed load. So it is a simply supported beam subjected to uniformly distributed load. So we are also interested in determining the deflection of these type of beams. So before proceeding to this, if you have a weight W per unit length, that is, please wait, please wait. Please mute it. Supriya Kumari, please wait, mute yourself. Okay. So if there is W, this uniformly distributed load, W per unit length along the length W. So if you calculate the reactions, this will come out to be W L upon 2 into W. So reactions will come out to be at this support at as WL by 2. So we have calculated these reactions. Now next step, we will find the value of shear force at any general section X. We will find the bend moment at any general section X. We will substitute in the expression for m upon ei is equal to d square y upon dx square. There we will get two integration constant. On integrating it twice, if so, we will follow the same procedure. Let us look at this. So shear force at any section X of this simply supported beam subjected to uniformly distributed load will be WL upon 2 minus WX, and bending moment will be WL upon 2 into X into WX into X by 2. So you can look here that shear force is linear in nature, whereas bending moment is parabolic in nature. So if you substitute the value of M as WL into X upon 2 into WX square by 2 and integrate it twice, we'll get two integration constant as A and B. So can anybody tell me what will be the end conditions for this boundary conditions for this type of beam? At X is equal to 0 and X is equal to L, what will be the boundary condition? At X is equal to 0 and X is equal to L, the deflection will be, who can tell
0.
this? 0, correct. At X is equal to 0, deflection will be 0. At X is equal to L, deflection will be 0. So where will be the slope will be 0? Can anybody tell me here? Slope will be 0 at dy by dx slope. Dy by dx is the slope which will be 0 at, who can tell this answer? If you carefully look at this figure, when beam is deflected, if you carefully look at this figure, so slope will be 0 at
0 and L.
not 0 and L. Slope will be 0 at dy by dx 0 कहाँ पर होगा? ये बीम जब डिफ्लेक्ट करेगा तो
L by 2.
L by 2. So it will be 0 at L by 2 here. So using these two boundary conditions, we can determine the value of these integration constant capital A and capital B. So if you substitute this value, x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, x is equal to L, y is equal to L, you will get B is equal to 0, that is integration constant B is equal to 0. And further we can find the value of integration constant A. So ultimately we will end up with this equation of deflection as 1 upon EI WL into x cube upon 12 minus W x raised to power 4 upon 24 minus WL cube into x upon 24. So this is expression for deflection. So once you have this expression, we know that maximum deflection, we are always interested in determining the maximum deflection. Obviously, you can determine the maximum slope also using the boundary conditions. So at x is equal to L by 2, we have the maximum deflection. So if you substitute here in this expression, that is x cube and x raised to power 4, this is some expression. If you substitute here x is equal to L by 2, we will get the value of maximum deflection as minus 5 W L raised to power 4 upon 384 EI. This is the maximum deflection for a simply supported beam subjected to uniformly distributed load. So summarizing these points, for this simply supported beam subjected to uniformly distributed load, the value of slope at the position where deflection is maximum will be 0. So in this case, we have seen that slope, the place where slope was 0, we have the maximum deflection, and maximum deflection will be at x by x is equal to half the length of beam, that is x is equal to L by 2. So finally, we look here that this is a fourth order equation in x. If I differentiate this equation once, we will get a slope which will be one order less, that is it will be cubic in nature. If I differentiate this expression twice, it will be parabolic in nature, which is the equation of bending moment. And on differentiating this equation once more, that is d cube upon dx cube, we will get shear force which will be linear in nature, that is wl upon 2 minus wx. And if you further differentiate it once more, that is shear force, you will get the rate of intensity of load, which will be equal to ei d raised to power 4 upon dx4. It is equal to minus w. So this is all about this direct integration method for determining the slope. There are two more methods. We will take it in our subsequent classes, that is Macaulay method and strain energy method. So we will stop here with this. If there are further queries, you may stay here. We will take 5 minutes break. If there are queries, you may stay here, or you are free to leave. Okay, we'll wait. Take a 5 minutes break. Those who do not have any query, if you wish to leave, you may leave.
Please send that previous one PDF.